I remember being in middle and high school, and we all had the groups. We had the angry kids, the emo kids, the weird kids, all the different labels we put on people. But when those kids would be angry or flustered or acting a certain kind of way, everybody around us would just kind of scoff and be like, they're just faking it. They just want attention. It made me think, do people really fake mental illnesses for attention? Talkticians, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatiana. I'm a mental health advocate and a communication consultant, and I teach people communication strategies to help them master conflict resolution. In today's video, we're getting the answer to that question. Do people fake mental illnesses for attention? We'll have to define what mental illness is. We'll talk a little bit about our reaction. In today's video, we are defining mental illness. We'll talk about our reaction to it. And we'll also discuss next steps to take if we think a person is actually faking a mental illness. All right, so let's deal with mental illness first. Well, mental illness, these are the diagnosable conditions that affect our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. There are over 200 different types, including depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia. Okay, so y'all heard me say diagnosable. So we should not be walking around saying, oh, yeah, that person got depression, that person got anxiety. Diagnosable means that this person went to the doctor and actually got this diagnosis. So I want to talk about our reaction when we say they're faking it. Many of us, including myself, has said this phrase about the weird kid in school or that person in the community or that person in our family. I want us to think about the feelings that are associated with that phrase. What did we feel before we actually said, oh, that person's just being too dramatic or they're faking it? Sometimes when we see behaviors that are strange or different to us, we get nervous, we get scared, and naturally so. But when we do that, we tend to become more dismissive or hostile in our approach. When we use labels like that person's lazy, they're just faking it for attention, it's rooted in ignorance, whether we want to believe it or not. A lot of us haven't been formally taught how to recognize the signs or the symptoms of someone that's actually having a mental health challenge or a mental health crisis, right? So we just throw a label on it because it's the easy thing to do. So we don't know how to recognize those signs and symptoms, let alone actually get the person to the help that they need. How do we actually know that the person is faking it? How do we actually know that they are just being lazy? What credentials do we have? What investigative work have we done? Have we asked them any questions about their home life? Hey, I noticed you've been down the past couple of days, past couple of weeks. What's going on? I also want us to take a look at why would somebody fake it, right? If you think about it, faking is acting. It's a lot of extra work. The person could be faking because they have a factitious disorder. That is a real thing. Okay. So that is a serious mental health condition where a person deceives other people about being sick. This could look like getting sick on purpose, eating foods in order to feel sick, engaging in self-harm, faking symptoms, exaggerating symptoms like headaches, stomach pain, faking seizures. Now, with these factitious disorders, typically people know that they're faking, but they don't necessarily know why. And guess what? Neither do we. So if a person is going to these lengths to fake being sick, that truly means that the person needs help. I want us to really recognize that it's not simply manipulation at play. That's a part of it, but there is some kind of unmet need. There is some kind of trauma. There's a lack of education. There's an inability to communicate, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, I need support. And at the end of it, the person is just trying to cope. And this is probably the best way that they know how. So when we say things like they're faking it, they're lazy, they're just being dramatic, not only do we add to the deep pain that that person is already probably going through, we leave them to struggle with no professional help. And while we're talking about struggle, I want to address suicide comments. So I used to work with middle and high school kids, and oftentimes I would hear them say, I'm going to kill myself. And they would say it in a joking kind of way. And I remember teachers and other students just being like, oh, Johnny's just joking. He always says that. But I truly believe that words are a reflection of how we really feel inside. And if we're going to do the work of supporting people, we have to do the work of understanding them. So, when we hear a person, a kid or an adult, say something like that over and over and over again, sometimes we ignore them or sometimes we get upset. But that's a time that we need to put ourselves aside and pay attention. What made them say something like that, even jokingly? What stress are they going through that made them feel like they need to take a break forever. I think sometimes we get so, especially as adults, we get so caught up in well, these kids got it easy. They got all this AI and all this technology, and I had to walk from school barefoot. We're missing the moment to connect. We're missing the moment to get that child or that person some support. We're making the grave mistake about making the situation about us when the person who just said they want to die is begging for help. Maybe that homework assignment that they're complaining about was the last straw because they're also carrying the weight of living in an abusive household and being the adult in the situation. Maybe as the parent, we are complaining about getting chores done and that is our priority because that's what we need for our own mental health. But for that kid, it's the last straw because they got to deal with you and being cyberbullied at the same time. So whether we are talking about factitious disorders, whether we are talking about a person making a suicidal comment, whether they're faking it or not, there's enough pain there for that comment to be said. With it being Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, I do want to make sure that I take a moment to give us a resource. If you or someone you know is struggling with thoughts of suicide, you do not have to deal with that alone. Please call or text 988. I'll make sure that I put that in the description as well. But that is our National Suicide Prevention Crisis Line. There's a trained professional to help talk you through that situation or talk to that other person. And I say talk, but listen. You'll finally get somebody who will listen to you. Okay, so please don't deal with that alone. Clearly, we are in this space because we want to learn how to be better communicators, especially around the topic of mental health, right? So we're here to learn some solutions. We want to get rid of those bad habits of calling people lazy and telling them that they're faking it. So how do we respond better in these situations? The first thing is lead with curiosity instead of assuming. Okay, we want to get in the habit of asking questions, especially when someone's behavior is strange to us or makes us nervous. Ask questions. How can I support you right now? How long have you been feeling like this? Asking questions like, how can I support you right now? How long have you been feeling like this? Another tip, and this is a part of active listening, but validate the emotion. You don't have to go through what that person is going through. You don't have to have the same experience to simply say, man, that sounds difficult. And it could sound exactly like that. I don't know exactly what you're going through right now, but what you just said, that sounds really tough. Taking a moment just to acknowledge that person's feelings can really help them to feel heard, which is really important, and can also just kind of lift some of the weight off of their shoulders. When people are struggling, a lot of the times they're struggling by themselves and they feel like they can't really relate or like they're the only ones going through it. And that can feel really, really heavy. So just saying, man, I get it. Man, that's difficult. Man, that sucks, that helps. Yeah, it's so much better than judgment. When you're having these mental health conversations, it's also excellent to, yes, validate the emotion and listen, but we also want to take that time to encourage professional help. You can ask them, hey, have you thought about talking to a therapist or have you checked in with your doctor? That's really important to do. Gathering that kind of information will kind of help you figure out where you need to help them navigate. And if they haven't thought about seeing a therapist or talking to somebody, it would have just planted the seed without all of the pressure and all of the judgment. So definitely encourage professional help. And if you have the capacity, I definitely recommend checking in with them regularly. It doesn't have to be like this weird thing. Just say, hey, how you doing? Just want to check in. How you feeling? Checking in with that person consistently builds trust. And last but not least, educate yourself. Learn as much as you can about mental health, about how to become better at supporting somebody when they're having a mental health challenge or a crisis. Continue to watch these videos so that you can learn. Take a mental health first aid class. You think that these videos are good. The videos are good. The videos are good. But I definitely recommend taking a class that can teach you how to recognize those signs and symptoms so that we can move away from saying that people are faking it or calling them lazy or some other label that will cause further harm. So I want you to remember, if someone is seeking help in an unhealthy way, the answer is not less support. It's better support. Let's be the kind of people that respond to pain with wisdom and not withdrawal. I know sometimes these conversations can be difficult or we have questions and we don't really know where to get them answered. I will do my very best. So make sure in the comments, y'all let me know what y'all want to see next. Talkticians, till next time.